Oh, hi everybody. Sheriff Stephen J. here, and you'll never believe where I am today. I'm in Saratoga, New York, but not just any part of Saratoga, New York. I'm in a special area of Saratoga, New York called Saratoga Springs. It is here where you find the famous Saratoga Springs mineral water that's made the place a resort destination for over 200 years. That's right. You also find the famous Saratoga racetrack here and the Performing Arts Center here. But I'm not here to talk about those two things. I'm here today in this nice, humid, a little bit overcast day to talk about the mineral water. And to talk about the mineral water, we have to go back. And I mean, we got to go way back during the Paleozoic era. It was actually around 541 million years ago. And it was the start of marine life on Earth. Now, a series of underground faults or cracks split the underlying bedrock, creating long and narrow breaks which allowed water trapped under the bedrock to force its way through the cracks and breaks and to the surface, creating the mineral springs. Now, these springs are the only naturally carbonated mineral springs east of the Rocky Mountains. Historically, Mohawk and Iroquois tribes drank and bathed in Saratoga waters to celebrate the water's supposed strong healing and curing properties. The area known as Saratoga, meaning place of swift water, was sacred to the Mohawks and other Native Americans as well. They believed the naturally carbonated water had been stirred up by the god Manitou, endowing it with healing properties. It is thought that early settlers may have mispronounced the name Saratoga, which led to its current name, Saratoga. Now, most of the springs are covered by small pavilions and marked by plaques. Others are less conspicuous, sometimes just a spigot in a rock, which I'll show you in a minute. Once discovered by settlers, accounts of its healthful benefits caught on in a big way. Even George Washington supported the healthful benefits of the springs and their rejuvenating powers. In 1783, Washington wanted to purchase the land where High Rock Springs was located, but he was unsuccessful. And that's because people with the same intentions as himself had already beat him to the punch. Now, over time, the extraordinary and sensational claims regarding the benefits of Saratoga mineral water multiplied. Doctors recommended taking the waters to cure kidney and liver complaints, rheumatism, diabetes, heartburn, scrofula, dyspepsia, cancer, and malaria. While most of these claims could not be proven, visitors kept coming to enjoy the waters anyway. By the middle of the 1800s, Saratoga had become the queen of spas, and between 1870 and 1900, it was the place to see and be seen. During this time, prominent guests such as the Vanderbilts, J.P. Morgan, Diamond Jim Brady, and actress Lillian Russell frequented Saratoga. Now, by the end of the 1800s, the Saratoga Springs mineral water was being depleted at an alarming rate. The gas companies, which had no conservation laws or rules or anything, they were just pumping gallons and gallons of the water because they were extracting the carbonic gas and using it for soft drinks and soda fountains. To conserve and preserve the mineral waters, the New York State Reservation was created in 1911, and the threat of the spring's extinction was averted. The Lincoln and Roosevelt bathhouses were built during this time and currently reside in the Saratoga Spa State Park. In 1929, a new Saratoga Springs Commission was appointed by Governor Franklin D. Roosevelt and launched the second phase of development, which was the creation of a scientific spa that would focus on hydrotherapeutic treatments for a variety of ailments, including, but not limited to, cardiac and circulatory disorders, rheumatic conditions, gastrointestinal ailments, nervous conditions, metabolic diseases, and non-infectious skin diseases. Many visitors also believed that bathing in the Saratoga Springs mineral water would relieve tension. And that made the baths very popular, especially the Roosevelt and the Lincoln baths. They were always full of patrons. The tubing of these springs allow visitors to catch the mineral waters in a cup or a bottle for their drinking pleasure. What drinking pleasure, you may ask? Well, I'll give you three. Number one, they are natural carbonated mineral water. They are always bubbling and bursting, but without all the chemical additives you'll find in a soda. Number two, they do have some health benefits. Natural mineral springs contain salts from iron, which is good for your blood and people on no-meat diets. Some springs are high in alkaline, creating effective antacids, which helps upset stomachs, heartburn, and lowers overall acidity in the body. And some waters help, well, constipation. And number three, they're cool and refreshing. At 55 degrees, they make for a nice cool drink on a hot summer day. Or a muggy day like this as well. I'll tell you what, as soon as I'm done talking to you here, I'll be heading over to one of them. At any rate, there are 21 mineral springs in Saratoga. And they all taste different flavors. They all have a different chemical makeup. And what's really surprising is if you take a drink out of a particular spring one season, and then you drink from that same spring in another season, it can taste different. I find that quite curious. Now, I've broken down the springs into 4 different areas. So let's start with area 1, and that would be the High Rock Park area. You have the Polaris Spring, located inside the park, and the Governor's Spring, which is right across the street from the park. The Governor's Spring was drilled in 1908. It was named after Governor Charles Evans Hughes, who had recently signed a bill protecting the springs. The water from the Polaris Spring across the other side of the street is pumped into this fountain, so the Governor's Spring is not an additional spring, it's actually an extension of the Polaris Spring. City of Saratoga Springs. You have 6 springs located at various parts of the city. The Old Red Spring, and that was discovered soon after the Revolutionary War and supplied mineral water to one of the first bathhouses in 1784. The Geyser Spring, the High Rock Spring, of course, the Empire Spring, and the Big Red Spring, which is at the Saratoga Springs racetrack by the picnic area and paddocks. Saratoga Spa State Park. This 2,379-acre state park contains the majority of the springs at a whopping 10. They are the Ferndale Spring, the Hayes Well Spring, the State Seal Spring, which goes down for maintenance every now and again, the Geyser Island Spouter, the Polaris Spring, the Orenda Spring and Tufa deposits, which the tufa rock has been formed by alkaline earth bicarbonates that are in the spring's water, leaving a beautiful multicolored mound formed by the minerals from the Orenda Spring. And of course the Carista Spring, which is one of the most iron-rich mineral springs in the world. The Hathorn Spring number 3, the Coesa Spouter, and finally the Charlie Spring, which is located close to the Saratoga Performing Arts Center. Now there are 4 more springs located in and outside of Congress Park, and these are the springs that I actually saw. There's the Congress Spring, which was discovered in 1792 by Nicholas Gilman, a member of Congress. It was tubed by Gideon Putnam, an early developer of Saratoga Springs. These waters are said to help with gout and skin ailments, and it runs all year round. The Columbian Spring. This spring was discovered in 1803 by Gideon Putnam as he was clearing out land around Congress Park. Purchased by John Clark in 1823, he constructed a Grecian pavilion over it in 1840. The Deer Park Spring, also known as the Deer Spring, is marked by an ornate green and white cast iron monument. This spring dispenses water from a vein of the Congress Spring. And right across from the Spring Street entrance to Congress Park is the Hathorn Spring number 1. So this spring isn't actually in Congress Park, but close enough. This spring offers a moderately mineralized water which is a diuretic and helpful to the stomach. So if you're ever in Saratoga, go on over to Saratoga Springs and check out the mineral springs water. There might be a spring water there for you that you like. It's right. Might help you out. And look what I have. Well, I've been talking to you. I found me some Saratoga Spring water. Ugh. I'm dying. Let me try this. Sparkling. That's that the natural carbonization that you find in the water. That's refreshing. Not as cool as if I got it right out of the... Matter of fact, I think I'll drink this up and I'll fill it back up and take it home with me. Because anybody can do that. Walk up to one of these spigots, put your bottle and fill it back up. So why'd I buy this? Because I didn't have anything to put the water in, that's why. It's great stuff.